We're going to share with you how Scott started a $400 million Amazon business. His business rose up to be one of the top 10 sellers on Amazon, but now he's thinking about walking away and selling his business. And make sure to like this video because Scott's going to share with you one mistake he made that cost over $3 million at the end of this video. So Scott, how did you start your Amazon business?
I studied software engineering and I wanted to work for big tech companies. I didn't want to work with a family business. But my brother, he started taking a family, brick and mortar store and like growing on Amazon and what like most people call the wholesale business model. Yeah. And he got to about 4 million in revenue and he's like, tell me about all his problems. Yeah. And he like wants me to come join and like build software for it. And I was reluctant at first. But then when I saw it was profitable.
Yeah. $1 million profit, right?
Yeah. I mean, like he had done pretty well.
Yeah.
And I had a chance to be a partner. I was like, okay, let's do it.
So in your first year working there in 2013, what were the numbers? How much money did you guys make?
We built the accounts to about 4 million a year, about 25% gross margin. This was easy to get good margin because there weren't a lot of other sellers but there were a lot of prime customers. Yeah. So
back in the early days of Amazon.
Yeah. And I mean, really, it's almost been a decade since I jumped in. Boy, things have changed, but some things are actually still the same. There still are millions of customers that buy products on Amazon.
And so in that first year of 2013, I think you guys did around $12 million revenue, around $500,000 profit. What did you guys do?
So my first year, we grew almost 200%.
Wow.
We did probably about 500,000, 750,000. I mean, I have to look at my taxes again, but we did fairly well and still growing.
And part of the reason you guys were able to do that was you really systematized the business. When you first joined the business, it was kind of all over the place. How did you systematize the business?
I mean, there was no software tools available in 2013. What I did is I came in and just built software, connected to Amazon's data to bring in our inventory, our orders, because it was taking my brother 12 hours to create a PO. To figure out what products to reorder and what quantity and what maybe not to reorder anymore. I was building these tools as an inventory manager, and now it takes 5 minutes to create a PO, where it used to take all day and all night just to create one.
And then in 2014, you guys rose up to around $20 million. How much profit did you do in that year of 2014?
We did about 750,000. Yeah. We were thinking about acquisitions at that point. How do we get more suppliers? How do we get exclusives with suppliers? So kind of building a war chest a little bit. We were taking home money, but, thinking big of what this opportunity could continue to be. We did invest more in our warehousing. So maybe actually the total profit was a little bit, closer to $500,000 again, because we would buy equipment, stuff like that.
And so an important thing that I want to point out is when you're doing your own business, you can start automating it and systematizing it, which is what you did, that allows you to continue to grow the business.
Yeah.
Then in 2015, what did your numbers look like?
We grew to about 40 million on Amazon and 1 million profit. It was still, really good. We had a lot of advantages. We started to hit the ranks of the biggest sellers when we could see that that was approachable. And actually that competitive drive really drew us to know that we could be with the biggest ones out there. But that's when we wanted to chase exclusives with brands. We wanted to be their, Amazon seller. We acquired a business to help us do that. We spent about $300,000 on one that was kind of like a boutique business that was trying to be exclusive Amazon sellers with brands and communicating and had a sales team and all of that, because we didn't want to be competing for the buy box all the time. We wanted a guaranteed margin on our products. And so you'll see a lot of wholesalers, they'll start to talk about that to become an exclusive. It's a lot of headaches because all of a sudden now you have to have an account manager that is you're telling them you're going to grow their brand. Well, you kind of have to do it. It was a great way to, continue growing our revenue. And so I think we kind of chase that a lot. It's fun. It's fun when your business is on the rise. I would do it again. It's fun.
Now, people at home are looking at the fact that your business made $40 million, but there's only $1 million in profit. Let's break down all those different costs.
Yeah.
So $40 million revenue, obviously you had to purchase the products because you're doing wholesale. There's also the Amazon selling fee, the Amazon FBA pick and pack fee.
Yeah.
What else is there?
So, I think we were getting a margin of about 15 to 20%.
Okay.
But we got a lot of things to pay for that. We have obviously employees.
Yeah, at this point you had 25, maybe even more.
Yeah, about 25 to 40 employees. Then we were growing in warehouse space. We needed a lot of space. We never really warehoused inventory, but we needed to take it from suppliers and prep it up and make it, FBA ready and send it into Amazon. And that starts to require, more and more space. I think we were spending about $15,000 a month in warehouse. Then you have to a lot of prep materials. You have to buy boxes. You have to buy bags. It almost can cost up to about $1 per product to send into Amazon FBA at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So while we, I think our average profit margin was $3 per product per sale, that actually starts to look like $2 or $1.50 at the end of the day. It's obviously not as fun to see those expenses line up, but there's a reason. When we just started out, we were paying our warehouse associates about $8 an hour. Yeah. Well, that starts to creep up.
Right.
And we'll talk a little bit more about that in the years to come, that costs, they rise.
Yeah.
And
cost of living rises, wages rise, minimum wage rise. Even if you're not paying minimum wage, there's the pressure to keep going up. And for everybody at home, most of the products that Scott was selling were Prime eligible, meaning that he would send the products into the Amazon warehouse. And when he would get a sale on Amazon's website, Amazon would pick, pack, and ship it out. And then they obviously charge a fee for that. They charge a fee. There's a selling fee that I mentioned earlier. It's about 15% flat rate just to sell on the Amazon platform. So Amazon's charging fees and you're getting fees for the warehouse and the employees and the packaging and prepping. And there's money everywhere. So a lot of times on YouTube, people will talk about their big numbers, but they don't actually talk about how much profit they make.
Our profit that year is about $1 million. I mean, that's good.
Yeah.
At this point now, after we acquired, it starts to get split between 2 other partners. And then there's taxes and whatnot, but it's good. I'm not complaining, but
a lot of work for that money.
It's not the business that I wanted to jump in. We want to hit the big exits.
Yeah. And that brings us to 2016, where your business did $60 million in sales, around $500,000 in profit. And this is massive jumps in revenue. How did you guys grow that year so much? So
it really is kind of if you have the right parameters. In wholesale, it's all about the sales rank of a product. Mm-hmm. And if it has a good sales rank, it's predictably going to sell at a rate. And so if you just keep buying products and finding new opportunities that fit your criteria, revenue is kind of guaranteed. Yeah. Profit, maybe not quite so much, but revenue, you're going to grow. But in this year, we started to get some good exclusives. In fact, we had an exclusive license on some Harry Potter stuff, some hats and actually the Harry Potter ties, those those red and yellow striped ones. Wow, we were selling thousands of those. For Halloween. So some really good exclusive brands. One problem that happened about the Harry Potter in particular is the next year we lost them. They told us, they said, hey, thanks, but no thanks. We're going to take this in-house. That is definitely one of the weaknesses of the wholesale model is the products that you sell, they're not your brands, and the brand owner can decide anything. They can change to another authorized seller. They can start to sell it directly themselves. And in fact, if my good friend had a great brand and he was selling to wholesaler, I'd probably tell him hey, you can just do this yourself. Yeah. Amazon FBA is pretty straightforward. Right. You put the products in the right place and you just set a price and done. And if you have Harry Potter, people are searching that stuff.
Sure.
they're gonna find it.
And that's why personally I avoid doing wholesale, and I don't recommend it to a lot of people, is because if you do find someone that you can wholesale for, they can always take the product back, they can sell it themselves, or other people can come in if you're not exclusive and sell that same product. And that brings us to 2017, where your business did $60 million in sales. But you guys actually lost money this year. How much money did you lose, and why did you lose money?
Yeah, we lost about $250,000. This is when overhead costs got higher and, chasing revenue. One thing about having your own employees, especially your own warehouse, is you want to keep them busy. You need to keep buying products. So sometimes we were buying products that weren't as profitable, but we needed to, we couldn't shrink. Or we couldn't have people just sitting on their hands. That led us to make some of those decisions. things. We did a lot of revenue. It's kind of crazy, but our operating costs just kept going up.
That brings us to 2018, where the business did $65 million. You guys are probably one of the top Amazon sellers at this point. But what did the profit look like?
Yeah, that was our biggest year, $65 million. On the seller ratings list, we were like in the top 10 for a while, but we ended up losing money. Again, there was a pressure, wages go up, people want to get paid, especially your good employees want to get paid more every year. Yeah. We wanted to invest in getting more exclusives, and we probably didn't really know our profitability well enough. With so many products, it got tricky. And then when we finally dug into the weeds, we're like, whoa, we're losing more money than we realize. We need to adjust this business model. And that's when we stopped buying just anything and started to really focus again on like the net margin at the end of the day.
And keep watching, because what Scott was talking about earlier is one of the biggest mistakes he made, the mistake that cost him $3 million, but we'll talk about that in just a minute. That brings us to 2019, where your business shrunk a little bit down to $50 million in revenue. Mm-hmm. But how did the profit look that year?
We made about $200,000. It was a lot of effort to get it there. What we had to do is, only go for profitable products and, push away expenses that we just didn't need. Or if it was like an R&D expense for a different business, we actually did separate two different businesses. Yeah, it's huge. You can chase revenue all you want, but at the end of the day, you want to get net profit. That's why we're in the business.
And was part of the reason you kept growing the business revenue was you figured, all right, one day we're going to cut all the overhead, or cut not all the overhead, but like slim it down and get it more profitable? Or were you just continuing?
I think a lot of times entrepreneurs kind of like chase this idea of like exit velocity, where like you're like, our revenue and is coming in so much that like we can just invest more than anyone else. Mm. And then it's just it's like continuous cycle of growth.
Right.
And, some businesses achieve it. We probably weren't making enough money to like be there, like in terms of like net profit. That was kind of a lesson learned. And like we learned it in 2019 and really, got back to like our basics.
But all this kind of worked is all in the process. And then 2020, obviously some pretty big things happened. Yeah. What do the numbers look like in 2020?
If you were selling on Amazon in 2020 and you had product and it was like anything like the right product, like you did well.
Yeah.
Margins went up. We did about 50 million in 2020 and 1.9 million in profit.
That's a huge year.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It was so funny. Like we found out like there was a niche in puzzles.
Yeah.
We were one of the few that had puzzles in April. And
right.
Everyone wanted them. And
yeah.
It was like name your price.
Yeah.
Great year for the wholesale business. I wish we could do that again. Only from like the business perspective, not the pandemic.
Yes. You had a product go viral on TikTok as well during that year. Yeah, what happened?
We did. All of a sudden, like I've never seen this. Our normal sales curve on a day, we do 100, 150,000. And then all of a sudden, like Friday afternoon, it just like pops off.
Yeah.
One of our products, like we found out that like it just like went viral on TikTok. It got 20 million views.
Wow.
It converted really, really well for us and kind of contributed to a good Christmas season.
And so I actually have a student, AJ, who I've had on this channel before. He started a passion product business, posted about it on TikTok. It also went viral. He got hundreds of thousands of dollars in sales. And so that's why I also recommend, if you're going to be starting your own business, especially if it's a passion product, post about it on social media, because like it can lead to some huge numbers.
Especially it's telling the right story with your product. I mean, everyone's like wants their businesses to succeed on social media. But this TikToker, we didn't even have anything to do with her. She did it in a very creative way, and people just really liked it.
Yeah, and I'll link AJ's video up here. He did about $500,000 in sales and around $170,000 profit in his first year on Amazon. That leads us to 2021. What happened in 2021? What do the numbers look like? Give us some.
So 45 million in revenue. It was a harder year to sell. Amazon, there was a lot of like supply chain issues. Amazon forced us to destroy more products. So we had to like write off some inventory that we didn't want to in order to keep doing Amazon FBA. We probably were down like $100,000 to $200,000 of net profit. It was still in the green or in the black. It's kind of like the point that we just lost our interest in this wholesale model, and I started chasing other businesses. Right. I had a private label business, and I really started focusing all of my attention on Smart Scout.
Yeah, well, talk about Smart Scout. What's Smart Scout?
So, Smart Scout is it's a market research tool for Amazon sellers. I would say it's in the same category as like a Jungle Scout Helium 10. But those focus on products. We focus on like on the entire market. So you can look at all the brands on Amazon and see what they're doing and like filter it out in a very interesting way, which allows, we have a few thousand sellers that use it. Interestingly enough, the biggest sellers, like they really like it. Because they could get a perspective on the market that's unique.
And we'll put a link to Smart Scout down below in the description, as well as a coupon code if you want to try it out. And that brings us to 2022 this year. What's going on this year?
Again, we're realizing we got too many businesses going on. Focus on what I like to do and also where I see as like a good potential. We're trying to close down our biggest business, the buy boxer. We wanted to sell off the inventory, close the warehouse that was, costing us a ton of money. And then we also want to sell the assets. Buy Boxer has a few hundred relationships with wholesalers. It's got a really good selling account. In some areas, like, the account has like 500,000 seller feedback.
Wow.
Really interesting opportunity for someone.
Yeah.
And we found someone that wants to take that and we're going to kind of do like a profit share sell. So we sell them the assets, not the inventory. That's like the complicated part of an acquisition. Yeah. Just like the assets and do a profit share.
And that brings us to the first of 3 mistakes that you made with this business. And one of these mistakes, the last mistake we're going to talk about, was probably about a $3 million mistake. So the first mistake was a flaw in the business model. And that's kind of that it wasn't really built to sell. Want to talk about that?
Yeah. So a wholesale business, you don't see them exit that often. Right. And especially where the founders don't want to be a part of it anymore. That's because you don't own the brand. The brand can make a decision. They want you to stop selling on Amazon. They can even get legal to try and get you to stop selling on Amazon. Either way, they're just conversations that aren't a lot of fun. That's why there's a lot of risk in this type of model. If you don't have a lot of exclusives, there is interest in the businesses that get like a lot of exclusives and like a contract length of 2-3 years. And if there's like if there's always new ones coming in, it's a more interesting business. And then, but like if the founders don't want to be a part of it anymore, a lot of people kind of like, they back away with that.
That, in addition to another reason why I'm not a huge fan of wholesale, is because there's so many big players like you guys that if you're a small guy, they're going to come in and they're going to eat your lunch. And this is overall why on this channel I usually talk about creating a passion product. It's something that I'm such a big fan of. But
there's a lot of different ways in competition on Amazon. If you're selling branded products, you're competing directly against other Amazon sellers on the same page.
Right.
Whereas private label, passion product, if it's your page, that's not your issue. Right. Your issue is more like a traffic. Yeah.
You're trying to get number 1 in the search results. You're trying to get as many people to buy you. And that's also why, since traffic is such a problem with creating your own unique product, that's why if you're going to create a business, I think you better be passionate about it. It better be something that you're interested in. That's how AJ was able to do such crazy numbers on TikTok, because he loved making content about his product. My first business that I started, I was not passionate about it. It was dance clothing, and I hated marketing this business. I'd write articles about the top 7 dance tips for dancers, and I didn't know about it. So yes, the second mistake that was made with this business was you guys did, over the course of the last 10 plus years, over $400 million in revenue. But when you subtract out all the costs, buying the products, the Amazon FBA fees, Amazon selling fee, all the warehouse costs and paying for the employees, it was around $5 million in profit. So let's talk about that and why you shouldn't just chase revenue and try to make as much money top line as possible.
I feel like we could even have chased more revenue and still made the same amount of profit. There's so many products in the wholesale model that are just break even, especially when you account for all of our costs going in. But our egos get involved sometimes. We want to see a big business, and you never want to see a business go down. And so that's kind of at the end of the day, the take home wasn't as significant. We didn't always have our accounting and profits, like, center stage and focus on what the business was. And that allowed us to kind of like drift into a less profitable business by 2018. But, we worked our butts off to correct that and to turn it into a business that, that did really well through COVID.
And finally, that leads us to the last mistake. And this is a controversial mistake that Scott made. This mistake cost you about $3 million when we did the math. What is this last mistake?
Yeah, so having our own warehouse, that really causes a lot of headaches, but it's also, it's a cost. It's a fixed cost. And if I were to do this business again, I would love to use a 3PL that would simplify a lot of the math and a lot of the conversations. Like this last year, we spent over $600,000 just this last 12 months on our warehouse. That's not counting the employees, but like there's so much variability in these costs. If you have employees, if you're the ones running, your weekly meetings, why not just have a 3PL that, one product, usually they charge anywhere from like 80 cents to like $1.50, depending where you're located. And then you can just build that into your margins. And then you never have to think about it. You never have to talk about it.
And a 3PL, for everyone at home, is a third-party logistics company. They basically make it so you don't need to have your own warehouse. You could just send the product there. They're going to prep it for Amazon. They're going to ship it out to customers if necessary. And for me, this is the reason why I love Amazon, is because as long as you don't have your own warehouse, you can send your products into the Amazon warehouse. They'll store them, they'll ship them, and pack them out to the customer. Meaning, if you're taking advantage of FBA, you can live wherever you want in the world, you can travel, and you can run your business from pretty much anywhere. And I did a free 5-hour tutorial on how to start your own Amazon business. It's a YouTube video that you can get just by clicking right here. So click on that video. I'll see you in the next video, and thanks for watching.